Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Ben the Human Plays Cast and Chill. I'm looking for the giant salmon. The giant king salmon. They said ate old Harvey. What was his name? It was like an old man who went out to sea and then in pursuit of a giant king salmon, and then he disappeared. I don't know if it's down here, but hopefully. That doesn't look deep enough. Let's go out a little further. Today I'd like to talk about one of my favorite things, is the sport of soccer. It's a great pastime. I love watching soccer. I love playing soccer. We'll talk about my favorite teams. We'll talk about a little bit of the history of soccer in Minnesota. Are you the giant salmon? You've got a buddy, so maybe that's the giant salmon down there. You see that guy? He's huge. All right, the key is we have to get in front of him and then reel in slowly to get his attention. Although all of them have left. Oh, they're coming back. And so is the big one. I think that guy's the big one. Get ready. Slow. No? It's tricky, because it's like, yes! Because it's like you gotta reel it, but not reel it too fast. Don't lose them. We'll talk about soccer in a minute. I need to focus on this fish. But I guess I'm going to talk about it anyway. I played a lot of soccer. I enjoy playing a lot. I enjoy watching it a lot, both in person and on television. It's kind of like basketball. It's very similar to hockey, if those are sports that you like and you're like, I've never really thought about soccer. There's always something going on. I find, even though I do like American football, it's definitely kind of waned in interest for me as I've gotten older. There's just a lot of downtime in American football. You know, they do stuff for about like 15 to 30 seconds. The play is done, and then they stand around for like another minute as they, you know, they move everything, they get set. And then that doesn't even take into account all of the time they waste on freaking commercials and stuff. The new biggest catch. The king salmon. That wasn't a trophy weight, though? Maybe it's like a different time of day. There's a massive salmon down there. Those are salmon. Ooh, I'm gonna lure you in. Come on. Oh, you bugger. Yes. So maybe that guy wasn't the super giant salmon. I thought he would have been, but maybe not. Oh, he's going out to sea. But yeah, like I grew up playing soccer from a very young age. When I was little, I grew up in Wisconsin for like the first 5 years of my life. Before moving to Minnesota. And the town I grew up in had like a town ordinance or city-wide ordinance or whatever, that if you had, it was kind of an interesting system, is if you had a company, you were required by statute to provide X amount of land for like recreation. And the way it manifested in my town was the cheapest thing to provide was soccer fields. Because literally, you just needed an open space and then paint all the lines and then obviously the goals. But so all these large companies, it wasn't small businesses. You had to have like 100 or more employees. I don't actually know what the law was. I was like 4 at the time. But the way it manifested is the city had at the time, and I assume still has, soccer fields everywhere. So like there would be big factories, and right next to the factory they'd have like 6 or 7 soccer fields because, you know, it was the cheapest thing to provide. And so what happened then is then the city, because there were so many soccer fields, like orchestrated just these huge leagues, like citywide leagues based on age and skill level and stuff. So like everybody's kids were in soccer teams. I think I'm going to... I'm gonna go out to the... Is that a beaver? No, that's an otter. I'm gonna go out to the edge here and see if we can't spot a bigger salmon. If we can't, that must mean that he's out at a different time of day. So anyway, these leagues there were just hundreds of kids in soccer leagues in the city I grew up in. And so I obviously was a very energetic child. And my parents were like, for the love of God, put this child in something to get all his energy out. And so that's how I ended up, you're a steelhead. You like the spinnerbait. I think we could haul in a few of these steelheads here while we're talking about soccer. Big spinnerbait. So that's how I got into soccer, and I've played it, basically since I was like 3 years old, or maybe even younger. I might have been like 2 at the time, but I was very young when I started playing, and I've kept it up basically throughout until recently. I kept playing through college and even after college a little bit. Then, you know, as adult life set in, you know, other people's priorities changed and they were like, well, I can't manage the team anymore. And then it kind of fell apart. But I still watch soccer a lot and I go to soccer games often. And honestly, I would love to get back into, like, I told my wife this recently. I was like, if there's an old adult intramural team that just wants to like have another guy, I'd be all down for that. So maybe I'll get back to it in the future. This guy is feisty. Even the giant salmon didn't put up this much of a fight. So anyway, I played soccer basically throughout my entire life up until like later adulthood. Hell yeah. I guess they're a bit bigger than the salmon. Even they're heavier, they're denser. They look smaller, but they're heavier fish. Give these guys attention. There we go. Right up into the boat. No, don't go that way. So, yeah, I played soccer a lot. I primarily played central midfield, and I did play striker a little bit when my team like didn't have a forward when I was in high school, but mostly because I run a lot. I still run to this day. I got into running when I was in middle school. Our cross-country coach was like, hey, you look fast. Come join the team. And then I just got into running. And now my friends tell me that like it's a cult. But I'm like, I can't be a cult of like one. At most, it's a cult of 2 because my wife and I run together. But I do run a lot. And so anyway, my soccer coach at the time was like, you run all the time. You're in good shape. So you can be in the midfield. And that's kind of like what drove me to be an attacking midfielder. Is I did have kind of a nose for goal. I was pretty good at scoring. Mostly because I kind of outworked the other players. Like the league I played in, I grew up in rural Minnesota. And it was not like the world beaters. Like it wasn't the next Premier League stars like playing in my league by far. We were playing in like converted cornfields and stuff. Like we like to joke that there was more gravel on our soccer fields than grass. But I was pretty good in my league, with a huge caveat, meaning overall I probably wasn't that good. I think I was above average. If you took like the average high school soccer player, I was probably above average. But But yeah, I played attacking midfield, played striker a little bit, scored a lot of goals in my junior and senior years, so that was a lot of fun. And then when I got into college, I stuck around with soccer. I actually got into reffing soccer my senior year of high school, and then I stuck with it all through college because it actually paid really well. I got paid by the game, and it was run through like our university's intramural, sports department or whatever. And they got reimbursed from the federal government, so it was like because it was work study program, it was sponsored by the school, and if you worked so much, you got paid, and they paid us pretty well because they had these grants for work study, which was kind of cool. And so I got paid. Man, I can't even remember, but it was a lot compared to like I had friends working not full time, but like pretty intense like part-time jobs, and I was making more than them reffing soccer. Granted, now you have to, the thing that you don't realize when you're a 19-year-old, essentially still a child, and you're reffing actual adults, because the intramural department was not open just to undergrads, it was open to grad students, it was open to professors and their like staff. So quite regularly you would have like these like 30 to 40 year olds in your leagues, and most of the time everybody was cool, but you had some people that took the sport way too seriously. You're playing intramural soccer for nothing. Like, you win the league, nothing happens. I think you got like a paper certificate. And then a picture that went on the website for like that semester. And so these people like took these leagues, not all it was very few people, but some people did take these leagues way too seriously, and they would like yell at you and get up in your face and stuff. And I was like, I'm 19. I don't know how to deal with this. I actually kind of grew into it really, really well. To the point that there was one guy that like absolutely hated me because I would call his games. This is the thing, is like refs have their own tendencies, right? And when you behave a certain way, I'm gonna ref you a certain way because I expect to have to control the game tighter. So I would like regularly card this guy's team more just to keep him under control when they were getting out of line. And the funny thing about it was like his own teammates thought he was like regularly going over the line, because one day I gave him a yellow. He like confronted me, and in our league you could not swear at anyone, but especially the referee, because it was an automatic red card. And so he threw an F-bomb or something at it my way, and that got him ejected. And then my boss, whenever anybody got a red card, you were supposed to, as the referee, you were just supposed to kind of like walk away and take down the notes of what happened. Because we had this whole process of like being reinstated to the league if you got a red card, because it was like you needed to go to, not therapy, but you needed to see someone to like calm down before you could come back into the league. I think we should get the old rec license here. The sea out there remembers every storm, drop a line, but keep an eye on the waters. Ooh, do you think we could capsize? So yeah, that happened, and then like my boss had to like confront him and be like, "Hey, you gotta leave." And then he like accused us of like hating him, and then he also threw some homophobic slurs in there, which also didn't make any. I mean, obviously not that homophobic slurs ever make sense, but he decided to throw those in there for some reason, and we were all like, "Huh." And then, needless to say, he had this meeting with like the director of the intramural sports department and repeated all of these things to her. And she was like, "All right, he's banned forever." So that man never came back. But that was the kind of stuff you had to do. That was the most extreme version of it, but that was the kind of stuff you had to deal with as an intramural referee. I did also ref high school soccer too. I got like I got certified as a referee. How do you pass the time again? There's a thing. It's not it. No. Z. Ah, yes. Let's see. We're at morning. Or no, we're at dusk. Let's try night. Maybe nighttime? Maybe we were at morning. I'm trying to decide when the giant king salmon is going to show up. Yeah, it was morning for sure. All right, the stars have come out. Are we awake? We are. Okay. Turn the boat around. Let's see if a giant salmon is down below. So yeah, I reffed high school soccer a bit. I reffed a lot of intramural soccer. A lot of fun. A lot of great memories. I did play on intramural teams as well when I was in college. My senior year was actually really cool because I went to the U of M, in the Twin Cities, University of Minnesota, and one of the things while I was attending school there, we were building our new. The university was building our new football stadium, and they completed it my senior year of college. And one of the cool things they let us do is in the winter, we used to have an indoor, well, we still had indoor soccer, but we also did football stadium soccer where you got to play on the football field, where we just put goals on either side of we played like the width of the field. And we put goals out there, and that was a lot of fun because, like, the field was very fast. It's not a real grass field. It's like a weird mix of AstroTurf, and like plasticized stuff. It's kind of interesting. I didn't see a bigger salmon down there, so let's try morning, and then maybe midday, and then if we don't see anything, we'll go check out the shipwreck. One of my favorite, this is just devolving into me talking about my time reffing soccer, which is fun for me. I loved reffing soccer and talking about it. But one of my favorite memories of reffing soccer was it was only for 1 year, but we actually had a frat-only league when we played outdoor soccer. So the league was made up of different... Oh, that's the giant salmon. I just saw him go to the right. I need him to come back. All right, don't lure this salmon. Let it sink to the bottom. Wait for the big one to come back. So we had a fraternity-only soccer league when I reffed outdoor soccer, and it was the hilarious thing about it was, I don't know if this was intentional or not by the department, but they scheduled it for Sunday morning. So if you know anything about fraternity culture, big parties on Friday and Saturday, and so. Quite regularly, that's the monster salmon. Quite regularly, these teams would show up on Sunday morning, like hungover to no end. They would be like bright red eyes. I gotta pay attention to this salmon. Bright red eyes. They'd be kind of like out of it. They wouldn't really know what was going on. And it was some of the worst soccer I've ever seen, but it was also some of the funniest like stuff I've ever seen. And they were honestly having a great time. My greatest memory from one of these games was, so none of these guys had ever really played soccer before. They just kind of did it for fun. And bragging rights, because, you know, when the fraternities beat each other, they'd give each other a hard time. But there was one time where they were like, a guy was dribbling it into the box. And if you know anything about soccer, the only person who's allowed to touch the ball with their hands is the goalkeeper. Well, the ball came into the box and somebody had kicked the ball. It was a shot, but it was like the worst shot you'd ever seen. It was going nowhere near the goal. And this guy who was playing defense just like it was clearly going out of bounds. He reached up with both hands and caught it like a football in his hands, and then he stood there for about a second just like holding it and looking at the ball, and then he looked up at me, and I was the center referee, and I was just staring at him, and I put my whistle up to my mouth and I just blew a short little blast because that's a foul, and because he was in the box, it's a penalty kick. And he dropped it immediately and then put his hands behind his back like he had been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And it was, and all of his friends were immediately like, "What are you thinking?" It was so funny. It was a great time. And then the other team scored the penalty kick, and then they lost. So it was just a very funny thing to have witnessed. I have caught the monster fish. I must take a screenshot. I must return it. Old Hank's lost trophy. King Salmon. Legendary Salt King. I have to bring this back to Rusty. I want to see what Rusty has to say. So yeah, that was a great memory of mine. It's fun growing up in Minnesota, because weirdly, you might not know this, Minnesota has had a long-standing history with professional soccer. 972. There it is. Albie, you actually went and did it. That's him. That's the king. Color like scorched iron, girth like a keg of nails. Just like Hank described, took half his life and all his luck chasing that fish. He'd be proud, or jealous as heck. Mount's yours now, that wall ain't empty no more. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I click on it and then he'll tell me the story again. That's fun. I can't believe I actually caught the fish. Sweet. All right, let's go check out the Old Wreck Bay here. I like the little town. Away we go. So yeah, Minnesota's always had a long history of professional soccer. We had a professional soccer team back in the 70s. It was called the Minnesota Kicks. I don't know much about the team because it was well before my time, but it actually has, I believe, still has the record for the longest or the largest crowd for any soccer game in Minnesota. Was back in the 1970s when Pele, I don't remember who he was playing for at the time, but he was playing against the Minnesota Kicks, and everybody went to see him. so they played at like this old stadium, like I want to say it was on the south side of Minneapolis, like southern suburbs at the time. And there's some cool pictures of like this massive crowd watching this outdoor soccer game. So we have the Dolly Varden, likes the spinnerbait. We have the Bulachon, likes the bobber. Got the sockeye salmon, spoonbait, and then the striped bass likes the crankbait. So why don't we start with the spinnerbait and see if we can't pick up the Dolly Varden XL. Spinnerbait. Big spinnerbait. Yeah, let's try. Too small for your rod, so we can't use the Horizon caster. Old Blue? Or do we want to try the Timberjack here? Let's try the Timberjack with the spinnerbait. See what we can't lure in. So yeah, we've had a soccer team for a very long time. After the Kicks went away, we had a series of NASL teams. So we had, I think they were called the Minnesota Stars at one point. Then they were the Minnesota Thunder. And then they became Minnesota United. I don't remember. I think they were Minnesota United. They used to play up in Blaine, which is where I went and saw them play in the National American Soccer League, is what I think the NASL stood for. Come on, you're the one I'm after. There we go. So the NASL is what they used to play in before they were promoted to MLS. They changed their name to Minnesota United. And then they played in my alma mater's old I was gonna see what is the sockeye salmon like? Spoon bait. So they played in my alma mater's football stadium that they built. Let's try the heavy spoon bait. You like the spoon bait, right? My brain broke for a second because I was talking about two different things. They played there for a year, maybe 2 years, which was kind of weird. The field was definitely not made for it, but did work out. So there's the bass. Where did the sockeye salmon go? They were definitely floating around. But then they built their own stadiums as Allianz Field in Midway, which is like halfway between Minneapolis and St. Paul. If you are a fan of soccer, especially North American soccer, I would highly recommend trying to make a trip to Allianz Field. It is a very fun atmosphere. The only downside, which is a fairly big detriment, is like I feel like they built the hallways around the field too small. Oh, there's the sockeye. You're a little higher up than I thought you were. You guys! Come back! What the heck? All right, let's try to get these bass then. The bass are hanging around for sure. Crankbait. But Allianz is a great time. The atmosphere is awesome. The views of the field are awesome. Like, there is not a bad seat in that stadium. I would venture to say. Got a bass. Right into the boat. You are a feisty fish. So yeah, I love watching the Minnesota United, the affectionately known as the Loons. They're actually playing really well this year. We got a new coach last year. We had the same coach basically since we entered MLS, and he was fine. He just kind of like, I feel like he was kind of stuck in his ways, and like he was looking for these players that we just didn't have, like skill set or talent wise, and we just didn't have those, and like didn't really change to adjust that, and you know, the team kind of suffered for it. But we got a new coach, Eric Ramsey. He used to coach for for Manchester United. He was an assistant coach there, and honestly, I have nothing but good things to say about him. He is quite a good tactician, and the team is doing really, really well. So it's fun to watch. This might be too big for the fish I'm going after, the bobber fish. Those guys are tiny. I need to switch to my lightest rod and the smaller bobber. So let's go to timberjack, maybe little guppy, and then switch that guy. Whoops. Well, maybe it'll be okay with the deep bobber. Let's see. They are kind of further down than I thought they'd be. Maybe they don't like the deep bobber. It does say small. We'll try it again. Come on, fish. Bite. I dare you. The bass are weirdly interested. Why can't I get that little fish to go after my bait? Right there. They're just they're not interested at all. Alternatively, or not alternatively, but additionally, the other team that I really like to support is Everton in the Premier League. Divers drop bobber. Maybe I just change to the basic bobber. Try that. Whoop. Everton in the Premier League. They also play in Liverpool, which Liverpool also plays in. Why are these fish not interested? Oh, maybe they are. Okay. They just acted like they weren't interested. Yes! Get in this boat. Was this a 1 ounce fish? Sure is. That's funny. So yeah, the reason I support Everton now because I got into the team in college because I've just kind of fallen in love with them over time. They're kind of a ragtag squad generally. Like, unfortunately they've been like financially mismanaged for like the last decade, and that's kind of like hampered their ability to compete recently. But maybe we try the lightest spoon bait, the small spoon bait. That might have been like, maybe we were too like running too large of a line. So yeah, they were kind of financially mismanaged, which kind of led to them struggling over the last decade or so. But now they've been sold to a different management group, and they have a new stadium, and things are kind of looking up for Everton. But the reason I chose to support Everton initially out of all the Premier League teams is, A, I didn't want to support one of the big four, just because it felt like a bandwagon thing to do. If you like any of the, you know, it's kind of like the big five now with Man City, but Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United as well. I think I have to move the boat to try and get the sockeye salmon. So I didn't feel like supporting any of those. If you like them, that's fine. It's just not, it wasn't for me at the time, and now I've made my bed and now I have to lie in it. So the reason I chose to support Everton out of, you know, other teams that I could have supported, in additional to the things I like about them, like culturally and just kind of their history. At the time, I am somewhat of a contrarian. It's not my whole personality, but I do tend to like be a bit of a devil's advocate in general for different things. And at the time, some of my friends in college were all big Liverpool supporters. So like, to bother them, I was like, well, I'm going to support Everton because they're crosstown rivals from each other. And it's only gotten funnier for me since, because Everton, you know, or sorry, Liverpool has, you know, gone on to do amazing things, not only in the Premier League, but also like the Champions League and stuff. And Everton has kind of floundered dramatically. So it's funny for me that I was like, aha, I'll teach them a lesson. And that did not happen. No lessons were learned, except maybe by me. But now I love Everton. Like, I like supporting them. It's been kind of fun. They for a while, they had some fairly well known American players. So Tim Howard, a really good goalkeeper for the national team, played for Everton for a very long time. Gosh, I like multiple, maybe close to 10 years. I don't think it was quite a decade, but it was a long time. Like, all throughout college, he played for them when I was in college. And then later Landon Donovan, he, you know, in his short stint in the Premier League, played for Everton. I did like Landon Donovan. Oh, a trophy weight sockeye. Nice. He's kind of gotten a little dumb in his old age, I feel like. No super disrespect. He's an amazing player. But he's kind of turned into a bit of an annoying talking head that only says things that just to like make people angry. And I was like, man, just chill out. But yeah, that's kind of my history with soccer and why I like it. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I can't believe we actually caught that giant salmon. I think we're gonna see if Rusty has anything else to tell us here before we end the episode. Thanks, bud. Reckon those striped bass were big, eh? Out at the Seals Rest, even the seals are fighting for a piece of the action. Hey, he told us about Seals Rest here, and then we got another one back in the lake. Anything else to tell me, Rusty? Thanks a heap. Nope. Okay. So I think we've got everything. I think the last thing we're going to save up for then is the Coastal Rambler. So next time we will come back and we will go explore Seals Rest in Old Wreck Bay, and then maybe we can get this last thing unlocked in Picnic Point. We might have to go back and like fish for some bigger fish to try and unlock that. Next episode, I do have an idea for what I'm going to talk about, so tune in for this. I'm going to be explaining things that I know little about to the best of my knowledge. So if it sounds fun to hear me giving you an explanation of a thing I am not an expert in the worst way possible, do check in for the next episode. It should be a fun one. But if you guys enjoyed the current episode, please click the like button. It helps me out a lot. If you want to see more episodes of Cast and Chill or the other stuff I have going on the channel, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you have your notifications on so you know when the next videos go live. But until next time, everybody, I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody!